Hey everyone, so in today's video we'll have a look at one of my apps, or one of the apps that I programmed and I really enjoy, and that would be the Meals Finder or Let's Cook app, which is a super simple app. It only runs on front end, so there's no server, nothing like that. So simple, free file setup, and yeah, I really enjoy working with it, and I actually really enjoy coding it. So without further ado, let's dive in. I'm going to disappear and I'll see you in a second. Here we go. So first of all, I already have my, oh my god, Filmora, it always puts things in the worst places ever. Jesus. Alright, here we go, sorry about that. So I already have the app opened in my VS Code, which is my preferred editor. Well, I can't really say preferred. I've never really used anyway. I tried Atom for a bit, but since you get Emmet and some other extensions straight away with VS Code, it's just my preference for everything. So let's first of all, like I said, there's three files. So there's our index, our style, and our app.js. So in the start, actually, now I'm looking at it, I should have done it in Sass. So it would be so much easier with nesting. But anyway, if we go to our index.html, I'm going to open our app with the live server extension. There we go. Oh my god, it's my YouTube. Let's get that out. Oh, there's my email. Let's get that out. Sorry about that. Here we go. So this is how it looks when you open it up straight from the start. We just have our input. We have a search button, a random button, and a find the right meal H1. I believe it's H1. Yeah, I think I did H1. Cool. So when we look for any food we want, say something that has chicken in it, let's open it and hit search, and the magic happens. So we see our results displayed as a CSS grid. And we can choose whichever food we want. I actually like the, yeah, by the way, when you hover over, it shows you what the food actually is called. Kentucky Fried Chicken, Jesus. I want to do them. Any advertising, but here we go. Chicken enchilada casserole. So when I click on it, and I scroll down, there's my food, which wasn't there before. And we have our chicken enchilada casserole. It's chicken, it's Mexican. I'll show you what these things are in a minute when we get into the code. But for now, we see that there's our instructions, and then we have our ingredients, and how many of them or how much of each we should put in. So that's that. And whenever I hit random, when I'm not sure what I want to eat, it just gives me some food. So that's actually, this is hot and, no, veggie chili. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I lived in Britain for a long time. That was actually, it's more like whatever's in the house. It's called, you know, they call it veggie chili. Anyway, so there you go. There's instructions. There's roasted vegetables, kidney beans, chopped tomatoes, and mixed grain. There we go. So that's that. And if I want to look for something else, say the steak, I get everything disappears, and now I get my foods over here. Again, when I click on any one of them, that actually looks pretty good. Again, it'll give me all the information. So that's that, and with it, I think that's actually all the functionality this app has. Like I said, it's super simple. So let's head to our code and let's go quickly over it. So in our index.html, just boilerplate with, I actually did take the font awesome in for the two icons I'm using over here. God, I can't even talk anymore. Apart from that, we just have our style sheet, and we have our script, which I know that a lot of people will be like, oh, is this, like, why is it up here? I know that most of you will like to put it down at the end of body but I just like to have everything that I'm importing at the top, and then just have my defer keyword here so that it loads after everything else is loaded. So here's our title, let's cook, and then we have container. I usually make like very bootstrappy CSS because I actually like the names that they have, but I'm not using any framework, any CSS framework over here, or any other framework for that matter in this project. So here we go. So we have our container, which encapsulates everything, just so basically all that does is it centralizes everything. So we have a margin auto and I think like one rem on top. And that's about it. And then we have our H1, we have our form, which has the input and which is the search input, and then two buttons, so search button and the random button. The search button actually has a submit type, so that if you wanted to, you could probably grab it by the whole form and just look for submit event on the whole form. I actually on the button, but I'll show you that in a second. And then we have our random button, which is actually not a submit, which is just a click event on that. So yeah, again, you could take the whole form if you wanted to search. Anyway, then we have our icons that are within the buttons, that's it. And then our three hidden divs that then show us the display content that are not there at the beginning. So if I reload, there's nothing, and only when I search for something, then they are displayed. So, and then the other ones go after it. Could probably make that disappear. Yeah, maybe do some. If you guys want to, there's a code. The whole code is on GitHub. So if you want to change anything, if you want to use it, change anything, feel free to do anything you want, because that is the most fun, to actually do your own thing. Right, so when we head to our app.js, I've got my elements that I'm grabbing from the DOM. As you can see, I'm only using one const, and then I'm just grabbing everything here. I was too lazy to write const every time, so I just put it all underneath each other and just separated by commas. And then I've got usually my elements up on top, and then I've got my event listeners down at the bottom. That's just a preference. Doesn't really matter. You have to have your const obviously at the top, or like you have to declare them before you use them, because they don't have full hoisting. So that's an obvious one. But yeah, the event listeners are just down here, and then my functions are basically make the body of my JS file. So first one that we have is the submit button, and we have a submit event that we listen for, and we have the search meal function, which I actually use a function expression where we take the event parameter and we have to prevent default because we obviously don't want the form to be sent off somewhere, you know, make any requests on servers or anything like that. We just want to click it and basically resolve everything on front end. Then we have our single meal element where we always at the beginning clear out all the inner HTML. So we start from scratch, and then I create a const term, which is whatever the search term that we put in, whatever the keyword is, you can call it keyword anything, and then that's the search.value, so the search input element dot value basically. And then we have some conditionals, and if there is term.trim, so basically if it's not an empty string, then I'm using fetch. I've seen people use Ajax and other stuff. I am not a big fan because fetch is so much nicer, and I know that the compatibility, backwards compatibility with things like Internet Explorer 6 are not great, so you might want to use, I don't know, Babel or something like that to make it work. But again, this app is not a production app. This is just a simple, you know, for your own use app. So since I'm not publishing it anywhere as a production thing, I don't see a reason why, you know, I wouldn't use fetch. But then again, that's completely up to you. You can use Axios, you can use async await. It's absolutely up to you. I just chose fetch. So then we have our response, taking it into JSON. Then we have our data, which is what comes in the response. And then we have our result heading, which is this guy over here. And we are taking the term basically just through a template literal and putting it right over here. And after that, we are actually, there's another conditional, obviously, because you want to make sure that you covered your bases. So I've got my data meals. If it equals now, then I'm just saying, hey, try again. There is nothing corresponding to your query. And then otherwise, we have meals element dot inner HTML equals data.meals. That's it. And then we map over and create some inner HTML for the meal, which is right over here. So that's what we've got. So we have the image, and as all, I'm just using the name of the meal, and then we have a meal ID that we need if we want to click on the meal, because based on the ID we can then make another request, which is right over here. So get meal by ID, we use the meal ID and make another request, and then grab whatever information is in that meal that comes in the response. So basically when we first put our meals on the DOM, it's just a list of meals, and then if we want to get some further details about one of them, then we need to make a new request based on the meal ID. So that's that, and then at the end we just join it. That's it. And then we clear out the search value. That's like, you know, you can make a separate function for that, because we are reusing, I think I'm reusing it somewhere down here. So you could make even a pure function just to clear out whatever you put in as an inner HTML, and then just use it wherever you want. You can create another file and just make it a module. It's totally up to you. And obviously if there's nothing, if it's completely an empty string, so basically, sorry, I was lying. So this check is not for an empty, sorry, this check is not for an empty string. It's if the HTTP request returns 0. So if you say some food that nobody's ever heard about, or they just don't have it, then we have the try again, and then this is the if check for if it's an actual empty string, if we didn't put anything in. Okay, so then we have our random meal. So we've got down here, we've got another event listener, which is on the random button, and that's our add random meal or get random meal. And again, I did it for a functional expression, but you can create it as a normal function. It's totally up to you. And then again, we just clear out everything that's there, fetch our random, which is just another endpoint of the MealDB API, and we map it onto our document object model. So, which whatever comes in as the response, basically the data. And by the way, it always comes as arrays, so you want to make sure that you take the first index. But yeah, I mean, I use like 20 console logs just to figure out what are they actually sending, because the documentation is a bit weird, I think. But anyway, I guess there's a reason for it. Right, so then we have our add meal to DOM function, which is right over here, where we take the meal, we first create our ingredients array, because again, it is an array when it comes in an API, but it's so weirdly done that you actually need to create a for loop and make a meal, and then for there's maximum of 20 ingredients, so that's why this weird number is here. So for I equals 1, I is smaller equal 20, I++, we basically push each ingredient into our array, and if some of the meals actually don't have all of the ingredients, so there's like 3 of them empty, and then there's another one, like weirdly. So if it's an empty string, if it's not there, we just break out of the loop. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much it. Then we just create the element, we take whatever information comes through the response, and we map it onto our DOM, and here we just map the ingredients with like an actual map. Sorry, I shouldn't have said map. Like we just output it onto the DOM, and then we map over the ingredients array, and for each we create an li that goes into our unordered list so that we have all the ingredients where we need them. And that's pretty much it. I'm 100% sure that I forgot about something. So if you find something that you don't understand or that you want to ask me in more detail, if you're on my website, then obviously I've got my contact form on here. Just click on the contact and just send me a message. And if you're on YouTube, just leave a comment or something, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So that's pretty much it. If we can still look over the CSS. I'm just doing a little reset box size in border box. On body, it's nothing crazy here, just the container, so we know that everything is nicely styled. I actually have max width on 800 pixels, so it's already a little bit responsive, not much. But then we do the buttons, everything, all the styling is here. I'm not going to go over the whole thing. But yeah, this is the only thing. Like if I knew I was going to do that at the beginning, I would have just used Sass and just nested everything. This was a bit of a pain. And then we have some media queries, just basically mainly just for the grid. So if I show you what it does, so basically when we have our grid, if I go down, it's going to be 3 and then 2 and then 1. And when it goes to 1, it gets a bit bigger because you want it to take basically almost like the whole screen. But that's about it. That's pretty much the whole app. And yeah, if you like it, go over to GitHub and just grab the code from there and do whatever you'd like with it. If you have any questions, again, just send me a message. Let me know what your problem is, and I'll try to get to you as quickly as I can. So thank you for watching. That's it from me. And if you're interested in any other projects, just browse through. Bye.